Hey everybody, welcome back. Well, I've got quite a story for you. This took place over last summer. For those of you that don't know, for the past 7 years, almost eight, I've been a custodian at an elementary school, and two and a half years ago, when the lead custodian retired, I became the lead, and so I've been at this job a total like 7.5, almost 8 years, and been through a lot. We have pretty high turnover. It's been pretty stable lately, thank God. But the last 2 years, we had pretty high turnover. A lot of people didn't work out, and this one in particular really didn't work out. And this guy, they hired him as a custodian last summer. So I worked with this guy for like 2, 3, maybe 4 months. It was over last summer and then partially into the beginning of the school year. Of course, the school year starts in July. So just dive right into it. So I just don't know why this guy was hired in the first place because they had like 3 or 4 candidates and they didn't even interview all of them. They just kind of shopped and dropped with this one guy. It's like, why didn't they test the waters, you know? And I was told by my old boss, he was not there anymore. But I was told by my boss at the time, I was told by him that he's like, yeah, we hired this new guy. He's got 12 years experience. I'm like, what kind of experience? And he said, oh, he cleaned rest stop bathrooms, and he just moved here from California. He cleaned rest stop bathrooms. I'm like, what? They don't really have. They're pretty nasty. You usually have pretty high standards. And he said he didn't have a driver's license. And I'm like, was he have a DUI or something? He's going, well, I'm not sure. And our district does do background checks, but I'm not sure how strict they are in hiring people with criminal records. I was asking my boss, well, why was this? Did they interview anybody else? And he said, oh, no, they just shop and dropped with him. They're going to go with him. And they're like, why was he hired? And he just said, well, he interviewed well, but at the same time, he said, like, oh, he seemed like he's a little slow, like he might be on the spectrum. So, okay. And I guess he did admit that we found out later on, he did admit that he had a severe learning disability. And um, he also admitted to smoking a lot of weed, which if I had a learning disability, I would not be smoking weed because it's pretty well known that smoking large amounts of pot can make your brains go to mush. But he admitted to smoking a lot of blunts in his lifetime. Um, yeah, we thought he might have had a DUI, but we looked. He had a pretty unique name. It wasn't a common name. Um, yeah, I searched for him online and didn't find any records of him in California or Arizona. Um, we did find out later that he just couldn't pass. He admitted that I don't think it was a DUI or anything like that, any traffic violation or anything like that. I guess he just couldn't pass his Arizona driver's test. And he was gone the first week that I worked, so he got trained by my coworkers, and I ended up having to retrain him. And he was a big cigarette smoker. The funny thing was, is I was talking to my coworker James, and he said that yeah, he didn't introduce himself or anything like that. He just, first thing he asked him was, hey, like, you got any smokes on you? And what happened was he kept like saying, can I bum a smoke? Can I bum a smoke? I don't smoke. But yeah, when I came back, he asked me if he could bum a smoke off of me, as I don't smoke, as our coworker James does. Ask him if he might have some extra cigarettes, and he didn't really want to give him any cigarettes, but eventually he said like, oh, you're getting when he finally got his first paycheck. He said, you're getting a paycheck now. He's like, buy your own cigarettes. He's like, I'll give you one today, but this is it. This is the last one. And I kind of felt the same way. Like, buy your own damn cigarettes. He asked me to, and we're only allowed to smoke. We get like a half-hour lunch at 2 15-minute breaks that are paid for. And you could take a cigarette break on your lunch, and then you could take cigarette breaks on your two other 15-minute breaks, but that's all you get. 3 smoke breaks a day, but he was taking an excessive amount of smoke breaks, like 5 or 6, sometimes even more. And you have to go across the street. You can't even light up on the school property. He thought it was okay. There was one day he lit up on the school property and he walked across the street to smoke, but you can't even do that. You have to wait until you get across the street before you can pull out your lighter and your cigarettes or whatever it is you're smoking. You're not allowed to smoke weed on the job. Or cigars or vaping, whatever you're gonna do. You can't even vape on the school grounds. And he was leaving a cigarette butt. First, he was actually leaving cigarette butts on the school property. And we told him like, oh, you can't smoke on school property. You have to go across the street, and then even across the street, you have to dispose of your cigarettes. The school's in the neighborhood, and he was just leaving his cigarette butts on the sidewalk, and it's like, no, you can't do that. You have to put them out and then throw them in the garbage can. And then one day he was wearing my boss caught him, he had like a cigarette behind his ear, and when the kids were in school, and my boss told him, hey, you can't wear that. You have to either throw it out or put it away or smoke it, do whatever, but you can't be displaying your cigarettes like that behind your ear. And he was always on his phone, even in meetings, because things had gotten so bad with him that HR got involved, and even in like meetings, he would be on his phone playing music or playing videos. And even one day, my boss kind of lost it with him. He's like, "Hey Joe," he's like, "Could you put your phone away for a minute?" He's like, "I'm trying to pass some word here," and he wasn't even paying attention at all. Like he was looking at his phone all the time, not paying any attention to what was going on, and uh, he was on his phone when we were working, and it's like, what, dude, what is up with you being on your phone all the time? And this guy did it, definitely was not like a catch, but he said like, oh, I got like all these girlfriends I have to answer to. Like, yeah, right. It's like we all have women in our lives, but it's like when you're at work, you're at work. It has to be put aside. And he had an electric bike too. He didn't have a driver's license. He didn't have a car, but I think he might have been on his phone when he was on his bike all the time, because there was one day that one of my coworkers saw him like texting. He saw him. I think he was coming to work or leaving work, but he was in the middle of a turn on his e-bike texting. And then one day he came to work and he had like severe road rash. He admitted he wiped out probably from texting on his phone, maybe in the middle of a turn, but he had road rash all over his face and his arms and his legs. I'm like, oh my God. And he didn't say whether he was texting or not. He probably was. And yeah, then also another day he ran into a sign. He's like, he asked me, he's like, oh, can you get me a band-aid, Jeff, or a bandage? His wrist was just, he just showed me his wrist, and his wrist was just bleeding like crazy. Like, what the hell happened to you? And he's like, oh, he was in the parking lot. We had these speed limit signs for the parents. And he admitted he was texting. He's like, oh, I was texting one of my girlfriends on my phone. I didn't see the sign. I ran right into it. It sliced into me pretty good. And from what I found out later on, I should have sent him out. I didn't know that was like considered like a work injury because he wasn't actually working; he was on a break. But I should have sent him out for a piss test, a drug test. But I didn't find out about that until after the fact, and now I know. I didn't know that in 7 years of working there. And he said he moved here. I guess, yeah, he had 12 years experience, clean rest stop bathrooms in the California state that sure didn't show. And then I asked him why he ended up here. And he's like, oh, I moved here with a girlfriend, but things didn't work out. So he's like, I'm just staying with my dad for right now. It's like, oh, really? Wow. I wonder why. I didn't see that one coming. And then he had only been working, I guess, a few days, and he was already asking, like, when he got his first paycheck. He's like, when do I get paid? When do I get paid? And I guess his first check, he got that e-bike and some new clothes like pants and short. Yeah, he didn't wear shorts. He always wore pants, but he got like some new brand new shirts and jeans which I'll get into in a minute, that he ended up ruining, which was on him. It wasn't on us. And couldn't do simple. He was supposed to be there because I was working from like 8 to 4 o'clock, and I was supposed to be mentoring him, but he was constantly showing up late, like not till 9 o'clock. Even the boss told him, he's like, Jeff is training you. I want you to work with Jeff the same hours. I want you to show up when he shows up and leave when he leaves. I want you to work side by side the whole day. And he kept like showing up. There was one day he was late. I think it was when the kids came back to school when we were working the afternoons. Yeah, he's supposed to be working at 2, didn't show up till like 2:30. He's like, oh, that's the first time I've been late. And what the fuck are you talking about? You were late all summer. Wasn't showing up until like 9 o'clock. And he couldn't do, like, it's like kids could do this. I mean, I knew how to tell time when I was in first grade from what I remember. And he's like, oh, Jeff, I got to work at 9 o'clock today. When do I get to go home? When do I get to go home? Like, well, you start at 9. If you want to put in your 8 hours, that would be 5 o'clock. And he kept asking that over and over, like every day. And even the boss is like, what the hell? Can't you do like basic math? Don't you know time? And He said, like, what's going on with you, man? He's like, oh, I have a severe learning disability. I'm sorry. And he just said, well, he's like, to make it easier on yourself, whenever you show up to work, obviously he was always on his phone. So he's like, yeah, when you show up to work, just set a timer on your phone for 8 hours. That way you'll know when it's time to leave. But man, this guy was like the weirdest, oddest person, most challenging coworker I ever had in my life. Hence the title. um, and then he was a white guy. He was 30, and then he was sagging his pants. And he was really skinny. I think his jeans were a little too big. And this was like over the summer when no kids, no teachers were there. But I was like, this just kept going on and on. I was like, first of all, I work with all guys, and we told him like, dude, we don't want to. There was one day he had like purple underwear on, and you get to see like a shit stain in his underwear. And I told him, I'm like, look, dude, nobody wants to see your ass. All right, that's number one. I said number two, when these teachers, because we work with mostly female teachers, and most of them are married, and even the ones that aren't married, I'm pretty sure don't want to see that. So I told him, I said, when these teachers come back, I said, they're real clicky. They talk. So I said, you need to either wear a belt or wear suspenders or get tighter pants, one of the three. I said, when these teachers come back, they see that. I said, they will turn you in so damn fast. And there was one day that parents were waiting to pick up kids, and the kids went back to school, and he was sitting down like on a bench, and not on the actual bench, but on the backrest. And his pants were actually he had plumber's crack, his ass crack was showing. And I'm like, oh my god, like I sure hope he's gonna be in big trouble if a parent turns him in. It was something else. He just didn't listen, and he eventually got a. He didn't. He stuck with the same pants. He eventually got a belt, but his pants were still sagging. But we constantly had to tell him, like, pull your pants up, pull your pants up. And it was one day his ankles are showing too. That's pretty much an acceptable look on a woman. Like his pants were too short. That's an acceptable look on a woman. Don't mind seeing that on women, but don't want to see that on a guy. They're pretty sure that caprice look is not acceptable on a guy. And there was one day he had on like, I mean, not inappropriate, just it was his personal choice, but didn't really care to see that. But he never had like matching socks. There was one day he had like a black sock on his right foot and a white sock on his left foot. Left foot. It's like, don't you have any pairs of socks that match? uh, and then I think he was on his phone when he was in the bathroom because it wasn't us. No kids, no teachers were there. We only have like two or three, four male teachers, but we kept finding like it was just us there cleaning. None of the teachers or the kids were there. And it was a staff bathroom too. We kept finding like puddles of piss in the bathroom, and we pretty sure it was him. It's like I don't know if he was doing it on purpose or it was an accident. It's like how do you not? I could see drops, but it's like you're leaving a puddle. How do you not know? How do you not realize you're doing this? And if you do realize you're doing it, clean it up. Don't just leave it there. You're a grown adult. You're 30 years old. He's probably on his phone while peeing. And there actually was one day, this is when the teachers came back, because the kindergarten classrooms and the first grade classrooms, they have bathrooms in there for the students, and teachers were still there. He could have gotten caught by a female teacher, but my coworker James actually caught him. He was in the bathroom with his pants down. I don't know what he was doing. I didn't witness it. My coworker witnessed it, my friend, but he had his pants down and the door was open, and he kind of looked startled, like he was caught, like he was doing something he wasn't supposed to do. And then, like I don't know if it was from him. He's supposed to clean that bathroom, but then one day one of the teachers noticed the next day there was still piss in the toilet. I don't know if he left it there, if a student left it in there. He didn't. I think he forgot to clean her bathroom. I don't know if it was that same day. I know he forgot to clean. He kept forgetting to clean her bathroom. There was just this one particular day, there was still pee in the toilet, and it smelled in there in the morning. It was there overnight, and I don't know if it was from him or a student, but let's just say she wasn't too happy about it. So that's all his personal habits. Now, well, actually, there's one last thing, which is really telling. I was walking around with my boss, and this area of the classrooms, all the lights are off, the doors are locked, and then we heard somebody like yelling, and like I was like, "Who's in here?" And like, I could tell it was coming from this one particular classroom. And I went to open the door. The door was locked. The lights were off. and he's in there hiding out in a corner. And we're like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, and he knew he wasn't clean. The lights were off. We heard him on his phone, and he's like, "Oh, I'm in here cleaning." And I'm like, "No, you're not. Like the lights are off. Like, how can you be clean in a dark room?" And I think he had his cart in there just to make it look like he was clean, but he really wasn't. He was just hiding out on his phone trying to kill time. So my boss told him, I was like, "Well, from now on, this is really telling of your character." He's like, "From now on, when you're cleaning in a room, leave the door unlocked, leave the door open, and have the lights on. That way we can find you if we need to." So this was just all really telling of his character. Now we'll get to his cleaning habits. So there was one day we were doing some, we had him, the maintenance guy had assigned him to do some painting. And like I said, he just got brand new pants and shirts. And he just like totally destroyed them. Like, if you're going to be painting, you need to wear shitty clothes for that. I mean, that's on you. It's not on us. We told him, you're going to be painting tomorrow, so bring some crappy clothes. But he bought his brand new clothes, and he had paint, like, he was painting for a while. And it took him a couple days. He had paint all over his shirt, his hair, his face, his pants, and shoes. And like, "Dude, did you get any paint on the wall, actually?" And he's like, "Oh, some." And then we actually saw him, instead of smoothing out, he was leaving streaks of paint on the wall instead of smoothing it out with a brush or a roller. He was just using his finger and smoothing it out. Like, what the hell are you doing? And then we I actually had to retrain this guy because he was doing so many things so wrong. Yeah, he was. I guess when I was on vacation the first week when he started. I guess stainless steel cleaner is only supposed to be used on stainless steel on the kick plates, the draining fountains. But he was using stainless steel cleaner at windows, and they're like, "What are you doing? That's for stainless steel. That's not for glass." He's like, "Oh, this works really good on glass." Like, no, it doesn't. So I came back. The windows were the mirrors. They were all so streaky, oily looking. Like, what the hell happened? And like, "Oh, that new guy, Joe, he was spraying stainless steel shine on the windows." Like, what? And like, "Yeah, he said this works really good on windows." Like, no, it doesn't. And there was one day I had assigned him to clean some baseboards, and he was down on his knees, and he was just like moaning and grunting, and I thought something was wrong with him. Like, "You okay, man?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm fine. It's just he was 30." But he said, yeah, when he was 23, he got in a motorcycle accident. He's like, "Yeah, I totally fucked up my right knee. I got a metal plate in there, and it's gonna be in there for the rest of my life." And I guess that was hurting him to do the baseboards. He wasn't, yeah, he was like squatting down, and then he was spraying Lysol on the baseboards. And like, we have this stuff that's better for baseboards that wouldn't attract. Like, don't be spraying Lysol on the baseboards. That's gonna just attract a bunch of dust and hair and lint. Like, we have more of a proper cleaner for that. Um, and then one day he was cleaning the bleachers, yeah, with bleach, of course, and he wasn't using bleach water. I think for bleach clean, you're supposed to do half and half, but he was just using straight bleach, and he was just like coughing up a storm because it was bothering him. It's like, why did you use straight up bleach? You're supposed to mix it with water first. And then we have like four chemicals, pretty easy, but we have four chemical stations throughout the building. I showed him how to use them. Pretty easy, if anybody could do it. Not rocket science. But for some reason, he wasn't using the chemical station. He was trying to fill up a spray bottle, but instead of using the chemical station for that, using the hose, he was he just cracked open the container and was trying to, without even adding water, he's just trying to squeeze the container of the solution in the water bottle. Like, no, what are you doing? Use the chemical station. And I already showed him how to do it once. I showed him again, and I'm like, "Do you understand this? You understand this is the proper way to do this?" So, oh yeah, yes sir. But yet somebody told me that he was still again trying to just squeeze the solution out of a container into a spray bottle, and I just didn't get it. And it took him to, I could deep clean up all the bathrooms in this school about, yeah, 2 days, maybe a day and a half at the most. It took him. They assigned him to clean the bathrooms when I was on vacation. It took him 6 days to clean the bathrooms. I don't know what he was doing in there. I don't know if he was playing around on his phone. But me and the maintenance guy who used to be there, my boss, we looked at it. It was still like total shit. And it was like, "What the hell did you do for 6 days?" And my boss is like, "Nope, nope, go do them over again." And I think like it still took him like an additional 2 or 3 days, and he finally got them clean after we checked them and finally got them spick and span. And and I couldn't understand. He was just making more work for himself instead of bringing the mop bucket into the bath. My coworker James had scrubbed the floors. He wasn't bringing the mop bucket into the bathrooms. He was like leaving them out in the hall and then dripping them like all over the carpet because the classrooms have carpet. He was going into the bathrooms in the classroom and dripping the mop all over the carpet and all over the floor. He put the mop on the where the bathroom is. There's probably like 10 feet from one side of the hallway to the other. He left the mop bucket on the opposite side of the hallway. My friend James had just finished scrubbing the floors, and then he dripped the mop all over the floor. And I'm like, no, like bring the mop bucket in the bathroom. You're just making more work for yourself, having to walk back and forth. Like bring it to where you're mopping. And at first he had started mopping from the, it makes common sense. You start the back of the bathroom and you mop to the front, so that way you're not stepping over where you're mopping. But he actually started mopping at the front of the bathroom and working his way to the back. I'm like, no, 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 no. Start at the back and then work your way to the front. That way you're not working over where you're already mopping. The guy had no common sense. And then I think when we called him out on it about dripping the mop over on the carpet, we kept telling him, like, bring it into the classroom. Don't leave it out in the hallway. You just make more work for yourself, and you're dirtying up the carpet by doing that. We're gonna have to just carpet clean. We're gonna have to carpet clean again. And we asked him, like, how would you like that if you had a home of your own and somebody was doing that in your living room or family room? How would you like that? He's, yeah, I wouldn't care. Like, really, really? Like, you have no standards? Jesus. And then when we were carpet cleaning, he was just again wasting time, wasting water. I think the carpet cleaner holds like 12 gallons of water, something like that, but it puts out a lot of water. It goes through water pretty fast, and he kept like going over the same areas over and over again. Like, you just stop doing that. You don't have to do that. Just go over the areas once. You don't have to go over them. You're just wasting time and you're wasting water. And it got to the point where I was like standing behind him and put my hand up, like, stop, stop. It's far enough. You don't have to go back any farther. He was just going back way too far. And one day there was dust on this one class. The music room has a real high ceiling. There was some dust up there. And he's like, hey, Jeff. And he was a pretty tall guy. He was like 6 feet tall. And we have a pretty long Swiffer with an extension pole on it. I could reach it, but apparently he said he couldn't. I'm 6'5". I guess at 6 foot, he couldn't reach it. He's like, hey, Jeff, there's some cobwebs up there. He's like, how do I get those down? I can't reach them with a Swiffer. I'm like, well, if you have to, use a ladder. And then he was like, oh, yeah, I see how that could be useful. And he had like a real goofy ladder. He's like, I see that could be useful. That would work. He's like, okay. The guy just, I swear, he just had no common sense whatsoever. I don't even know if he graduated from high school or not. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't. And then he gave his 2 weeks notice, and it turned out he thought he had a job lined up. He didn't have a job, and yeah, he left. He relocated to somewhere else in Arizona, and then he started stealing. He started stealing food, and he didn't destroy the evidence. Like, he went into the classroom. I think a teacher had a bag of Doritos, and he ate the Doritos. It's like, if you're gonna be a steal, like, at least destroy the evidence. But he would like eat a bag of chips or something, Doritos, and then just leave it right on the teacher's desk. So many things were going missing, supplies, food. The one teacher had like sandwiches from Panera stolen, and she actually left a note on her sandwich. Oh yeah, go ahead, son of a bitch. I've got other food. Go ahead and eat it if you want. And I would feel guilty about that, but he still took it. He didn't leave it for her. And then one teacher, she had like cream cheese for her bagels, and she smoothed it out supposedly. I know she was pretty neat. She said she had her cream cheese smoothed out, and he didn't even use a fork or knife, or we knew it was him, but he didn't use a fork or a knife or a spoon. I guess he just went right in there with his finger and tasted it. And she actually sent an email out with a picture of it with his, with him, putting his fingerprint in there. We knew it was him because there's all the years we've worked there. There's never been any issues with anybody stealing at that point. He just didn't care. He was on his way out of there, so I guess he didn't care if he got fired for stealing or if anybody actually caught him in the act. But we knew it was him. But it was a shame because we all got talked to, and the boss was like, "Oh, I'm not saying like you guys are stealing, but if you've been drinking drinks or eating food in the fridge that's not yours, like please just." I'm not saying it was any of you, but if you've been doing it, just stop doing it. Don't do it anymore. But it still continued to go on. And then he was we have, like I said, we have mostly female teachers, but he was belching out loud right in front of female teachers. Didn't think anything of it, and we told them that that was really nasty. Like, if you really have to do that, if you really want to do that in private, go to the bathroom to do that. And it sounded like it was beverages. It didn't sound like it was food. But he said like, oh, I'm not trying to be nasty. He's like, I got acid reflux disease. I got acid reflux disease, but that it doesn't make me belch. I just have some regurgitation issues, but it's not a belch. It's more of like a mini. I won't get into that, but it definitely it's not a belch for me. Um, but yeah, he gave us two. He thought he had a job lined up. He gave us 2 weeks notice. I would have fired him right away. I would like get your shit and get the fuck out of here. But they let him work out his last 2 weeks. But it turned out that he said, "Oh Jeff, I don't have a job. I thought he had a job, but I don't have a job. So can you like take away my 2 weeks notice?" And I said, "Well, I'll talk to the boss." And it turned out, I guess HR said that I guess my boss said it already went to HR, so they had to move forward with it. They couldn't retract it at that point. And then he did find another job for real. And I would have fired him right away because he was just going to keep stealing. Um, he was just going to keep causing problems. They ended up firing him on his last day and fired him at the front door. And um, what happened? Oh yeah, that's what it was. I thought that he wouldn't get paid for his last. I mean, it was only one day. It wasn't gonna kill us or anything like that. It was just one day's pay. But I guess they still gave him his full day's pay because he drove. He had like a. I guess it took him like an hour to get there. He drove out there on an e-bike. It took him like an hour to get back there, an hour to get back home. So they still gave him his whole day's pay. But even this guy from like the district office fired him. It's like you don't know anything about this guy. He's like, "Oh, why did you fire him? He seemed like a pretty nice kid, a pretty nice guy. Why did you fire him?" And my boss is like, "Oh, he's just not clicking with his coworkers. He's not clicking with the team, not clicking with the work." So yeah, that's my story on that. So yeah, that the biggest oddball, the biggest pain in the ass, the biggest challenge I ever dealt with in my life. So quite a story. So yeah, that's all I got to say about that. So hopefully I never have to go through anything like that. I'm sure I'll have challenges, but hopefully I never face a challenge with another coworker like that again. So that's all I have to say about that. Comment, like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you all real soon with another video. Have a great rest of your week, everybody, and have a great weekend. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.